Welcome to cooking. Today we are doing a very quick and easy salad, one that's kind of really great for the winter because there's no leafy greens in it that don't really last all that great in the wintertime. This is called a bean and lentil dip. Now it's kind of funny, lentils are beans. I think they just mean two different kinds of beans. So if you don't have lentils, you can do, a navy bean and a kidney bean, whatever you got. This is kind of a clean off the shelf, clean out the fridge kind of a meal. And it's one of my favorites because you cook it once and you eat it multiple times. So go ahead, wash up, and then we're going to come back. And this recipe is super quick and easy because it's just a couple of different cans, a couple of fresh veggies, and you put it together and that's it. There's no cooking, there's no baking, there's no sauteing, there's nothing. So if you're low on energy, keep this one handy. Pretty basic ingredients that you'll probably have on your shelves right now. So as far as ingredients go, these can be interchanged really quickly as to what you've got in the fridge. This is calling for a can of black beans, a can of lentils, and then a red pepper, yellow, orange, green, whatever you've got, just a bell pepper, and then a red onion. If you don't have a red onion, this kind of is the only thing that we might not have. Just substitute your white onion, or yellow cooking onion would be even better if you don't like a really strong onion flavor when you're having it fresh, because it's a little bit stronger when it's fresh. The red onion is just a more mild flavor, but it has great color. So then they're using both of those for this. And then it's just you add some dressing, and it's dressing of your choice. If you wanted to mix all these together to have different flavors, you could divide it into three and do a third with each different dressing, and then it's the same salad, three different taste buds because of what you've added at the end. Or you can not put the dressing on, and then every time you go to have some, you can use whatever dressing you'd like. Another really great idea for dressing would be balsamic or zesty Italian. That would be another one. Or just an oil, like an olive oil and a vinegar. That would be lovely as well. Then you know you're getting your olive oil in. Because sadly, olive oil is not used in the shelf salad dressings because olive oil is too expensive compared to the oil that they use, but it is a better quality one. So let's get started. All we're going to do is take all of these, put it in a bowl, and mix it up. So we have a can of black beans and a can of lentils. Marianne's already opened the lentils and rinsed them, so we're just going to add those right in. Nice. So let's just walk you through this process. Did want to mention that Marianne noticed two different kinds of beans. So this is a no salt added, and this says just lentils. So what is the difference when you look on the back on that nutrition facts table? Well, this one says, and in the ingredients is different, because this one says lentils, water and salt, and then calcium chloride. This one in the ingredients says black beans, water, and calcium chloride. So there is more salt. So how much? So half a cup. Both of them say half a cup is the serving size. And when you go down to the sodium, these lentils have 200 milligrams of sodium, and the black beans have 1 milligram. So 200 milligrams really isn't all that much either. We need about 2,500 milligrams a day, so it's not much. However, if you can save your milligrams of sodium and not have them in beans, then you're going to be doing a great job, because then you can eat them somewhere else in your meal plan. We're going to open our beans. What we want to do is to just rinse off all of those, the fluffy bubbles that come off of it, because those are the carbohydrate that causes the gas in the beans. All right, so let's get this can open. The key to this is a can opener that works. We've had so many that don't work, and then the frustration hits before you even have a can of beans open. That's no fun. And don't open it all the way so that you can just tip it up. This is a very sharp edge, so I do prefer to kind of lay it down or pull it off, just so you don't cut your fingers. All right, so we're going to dump all of this in. Depending on how old the can of beans are, you might have a whole lot of beans stuck in the bottom, Today there's not a ton, there's only a few, but you can rinse all them, clean out that can, and then you're good to go for recycling. So now the fun begins. You can see the bubbles coming. But because these weren't in there for super long, they weren't stuck to the bottom, then you don't have a whole lot of carbohydrate. But you did notice that that liquid was a lot thicker. I'm hoping you noticed. It used to be water. So it just, in sitting with the beans and cooking the beans in it, the carbohydrate comes out and then thickens that. So it's just water and beans. And in this one, no salt even added. So we're just going to pour this. Just take out as much of the water as you can. That's why a colander is so great. You can use a plastic one or a mesh one. And we're just going to pour it right into our bowl because it says that we need a whole can of each. All right, so we've got our 2 beans in. We got our cans rinsed. Next is our pepper. So we've got this washed, but because of course you wash everything that you get from the grocery store that's fresh, because you never know who sneezed on it, where it's been, how many hands have touched it, and that's just the safest thing to do. So the pepper has a whole bunch of seeds inside. So what we want to do is we just want to cut that out. So remember, a flat surface is always the best. So this is rolly, so we have to find one side of it that's not as rolly. And then the easiest thing to do is just to insert your knife. Now remember, you want a knife that's deep. So this knife would, it would be almost okay, but it's not quite deep enough to get all the way to the bottom of that. So you're just inserting the knife around the stem. Get as close as you can, because the closer you get, the less you're going to waste. Now you'll see on cooking shows that they just chop that whole end off and throw that out, but then you're wasting a lot of pepper. We like to eat that pepper. So then after that, just along one of the divots in the pepper, just cut that right in half. Now everything is still together. We're keeping all the seeds inside, but when you open that up, you're hoping to have all the seeds intact right in the middle, and then just to have a few of those divider membranes that you have to pull out. So that was pretty awesome, because now you don't have the mess of seeds to clean up everywhere. And I just had one in this side hiding up there. And then you just take this. You could plant those seeds, by the way, or you just throw that out. Take out those membranes and whatever seeds are left. And then you want to clear off your cutting board, because you want a clean cutting board to be able to chop this up. All right, so this isn't a recipe we're cooking. We're not doing anything to it. So you want to be able to cut these small enough so when you take a spoonful of this salad, you're getting a little pepper, little onion, a little bit of beans. So my favorite way to do peppers is called the smashing method. So you smash it, and then it just kind of breaks any way it wants to. You might have to smash it again, because all you're wanting to do is to just slice it. So we're just wanting to slice this into small pieces that are uniform. Now, the real secret here is actually having a sharp knife. When you have a sharp knife that doesn't slip and slide all over the skin, that's a little bit tough. It works so much easier. So I do like to sharpen my knives before every cooking session, only because, and I'll show you actually, this is the sharpener I use. It's nothing fancy. 1 or 2 or 3 different parts to it. The first one is the black part, and then it ends with a white part in there. So the white part is the last. It's the fine sharpener. So you start with the coarse sharpener and you end with the fine sharpener, and you get a knife that is this sharp. And that just makes the project a whole bunch easier. Some people think when their kids are in the kitchen cooking that you want to have a dull knife, but it's actually more dangerous because dull knives slip around. So you just need to teach your kids that a knife needs to be sharp and you need to be careful. And then they'll always be careful and they don't have to worry about that, that dull knife. Now you can cut this before you smash it and then you kind of predict where it's going to open up. But again, the smashing method is great for kids. They love that part that they can help out with. Even if they can't cut it up yet, they can help you smash it and clean out the seeds. Now, it's really important, I find, to get kids in the kitchen as soon as they can. 7 years old, 8 years old, they should be able to cut things up and know how to use a knife, know how to be safe around that stovetop. They shouldn't be doing things on their own in the kitchen, but definitely being comfortable to read a recipe and to know how to put all that together is the goal. Awesome. So now we've got all of our pepper and our beans. Now the lentils are smaller, but those black beans and the pepper are about the same size. So that's really great. Now, depending on the size of pepper, we might mix this up and decide that, oh, we could have used 2 peppers. Then, you know, if you have a green one or a yellow one, add some more color. It's just all about that balance that you're looking for. All right, so this is called for a diced red onion. This is totally fine. So when the onion sprouts, funny enough, if it's sprouting and it's in the spring, you can actually pull these apart and plant these. There's just the 2 onions, I think, that have the growth to them, but you plant those because that's the bulb of the onion. There's your roots growing right there. And then you're just going to grow a bigger onion to that. So that's pretty awesome. But you can also just cut this up and use it. Now, this is just like a chive or a green onion. You can chop that up and add it as well. The part that you just have to watch out for, the outside can be dry, like the piece that I pulled off. You're not going to want to put any of that in your salad. It's just going to be tough. You're not going to want to eat it. You'll see that it's wrinkly. It gets a little bit curly. It's just too tough to enjoy in your food. So you want to pull off any parts that are dry. That's looking good. There's some dry bits there that we'll have to cut off. And I did just want to show you this other onion. So this one we had as well. You can see that there's just, you know, a part that it's not soft. So it didn't get bruised and it's not rotten, but it's going to be dry and it's not going to be fresh. So you're just going to want to cut that part off, but the rest of it is great. There's no other dry part, so you could use that onion in another recipe as well. So for onions, we're going to chop the top off, but we're also going to chop that top up and eat it. You want to chop the bottom off, but only to a point, because that bottom actually keeps that onion together. So this is very different than an onion that I normally chop. So it's hard to see, but onions do have layers. And the layers actually help us when we're chopping an onion so that it's all uniform. So what I do, remember, this is that root system right there. So that's the part that's going to hold it together. So you don't want to chop through that. So you make fine little lines, not all the way down to the root, but almost, and then all the way up to the tip. Now, everything is still stuck together, and though we're still using these to help us to make uniform pieces, all we're going to do is make it one chop down this way, getting those fingers back. Not all the way to the end, because that gets too tough as well. But now you can see that because of the layers of an onion, every single piece of onion is a tiny little bite. You don't have too big of pieces, you don't have too small of pieces, and it was easy, everything stuck together. So this one's kind of funny because it wasn't really much of an onion. That was the root ends, but this just goes to show that whatever kind of shape your onion is, you can eat it. Fruits and vegetables don't have to be perfect to be edible. They just have to be fresh. As long as they're not dried out, then they are good to go. We'll do this one up as well. Chop that top part off. Now there's a little bit more on this that we have to take off. That was dry there, but that whole outside layer wasn't dry, so we can leave some of that on. That looks good, so we'll chop that root off. Now it's really fun actually, if your kids are into vegetables and growing, if you stick this in water, then these roots are going to grow, and out of this is going to be like these ends. You're going to get some green onions, so your kids can watch that and then cut the onions out and use them in salads and stuff like that and enjoy it. This is so pretty looking. Look at the middle of that. That's so neat. So we're going to chop it in half because we want to expose all those layers. We have the root system over here, so then we're just going to make some lines down this side without going too fast and staying away from our fingers. And we just chop one direction this way. And we've got a beautifully cut up onion. Do the same for the other one. Lines this way. You just have to make sure that you don't cut through the root part, or else everything will fall apart, and onions can be very slippery, so that's not fun when they fall apart. I might chop off that piece. That's looking a little dry. But it's so true, when you find an onion in the back of your cupboard that you forgot about, you can still use it. Just take off a couple of those layers. And let's use the green part. That will look pretty beautiful in there. So just chop that up fine. And this one. Oops. And now you've used up every single part of your onion. Excellent. We'll move that away. Add this to... Oh, thank you. Yeah, that would be a bad chunk to get. And again, if your onion was too small and you really like onions, feel free to add more in to get that balance that you're looking for. So this is a nice vegetarian salad to have in your fridge. Remember that things marinate after you add sauces to them that have some sort of a vinegar to them. So they always kind of taste better the second day. So that's a nice ratio. But man, could we ever add in a whole bunch of other vegetables if we wanted, right? Green peas would taste great in here. Mushroom chunks would taste great in here. Cucumber bits would taste really great in here. So really, whatever you have in your fridge, go ahead and just add it in. So the next and last step is just to add a dressing of your choice on top. I think we're going to stick with the Catalina today, but there's no reason why you can't add in a ranch. That would be really cool. That would taste really good if that's your favorite. So we're going to add in, we're going to start with about 1/4 cup. So that's about there. And let's just see what that looks like. The vegetables were big and there's a lot of beans. We want to be able to taste that Catalina. So I think we're going to add another 1/4 cup. Now, like I said, salad dressings in the jar aren't the healthiest for us because they don't use that great quality olive oil. So what I do get people to do is if they have an oil-based dressing, like a balsamic, you can do it with a Catalina, will separate, but take some out and then add olive oil in, and then you know that you're getting some good quality olive oil every time you use it. You can also just put some olive oil on your salad right before you eat it. Oh, good question. So what oil is in here typically that they're using? It is often soybean oil that I find, or canola oil, and those just are usually leftovers from doing other things. So when they make tofu, then there's soybean oil as an extra. So then they don't throw it out, they use it. And it's an oil that actually is inflammatory in our body, so it's not terrible, it won't kill us, but adds up together to be not very healthy. So there you have it. Bean and lentil dip.